What's going on, guys? Welcome to Light the Lamp, and today we're going to be talking about St. Louis Blues captain Alex Pietrangelo. And the reason we're going to be talking about him is because this upcoming offseason, he's about to get paid. But the thing is that nobody's really sure who it's going to come from because the Blues are kind of in a pickle when it comes to the cap situation. But I do think the Blues do have a good chance to re-sign him. He's loved by the city. He loves the city. He's a two-time All-Star. He's the cornerstone defenseman of the franchise, and the Blues want to keep it that way. But I think it's going to be a lot harder to resign him than some Blues fans are making it out to be. And there are a lot of teams in the NHL that would love to have Pietrangelo on their team. So today, I'm pretty much going to be discussing what I think the Blues are going to do to try to keep Pietrangelo. And they're definitely going to try to keep him because you'd have to be out of your mind to let a player like Pietrangelo walk and try to go and find another contract somewhere else. He was so pivotal in the Blues win in the Stanley Cup. Not only just Game 7, but the entire playoffs. But obviously, he did score that game winner, the second goal in the end of the first period in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. You know that's a player that can step up. You can't just let a player like that walk away. But the thing is it's going to be hard. But with the current situation of what the world's going through and what hockey's going through, it's going to be hard for not only the Blues to resign him, but also other teams because of the current cap situation. So the current cap is at $81.5 million, and it was projected to go up to at least 84. I think I saw some projection it was supposed to be between 83 and 85 million, so we'll say 84. That would have given the Blues another 2.5 million to work with to sign Pietrangelo. But with everything that's going on, what I've been seeing is that it's going to be a flat salary cap season. And that means the salary cap doesn't go down, but it doesn't move up at all. So it's going to be stuck at that $81.5 million. Here's the Blues cap situation. They're currently at a $78.5 million, which means they're $3 million away from the cap hit. So to sign Pietrangelo, they have $3 million to work with, and he's definitely not going to sign for that. He is going to get, I would say, anywhere between 8 and 10 million. I would probably put it at around 9, but they just don't have the cap space to work with it right now. And another issue is that Vince Dunn, who's an RFA, is going to be needing a contract. And he's going to make probably between $2 and $3 million. So they already have to lock that $2 or $3 million up into the very small amount of cap space they have to work with. So all the wiggle room the Blues have right now is going to go to Vince Dunn. And here's the thing, he's definitely going to be signed by the Blues. He's definitely going to get a contract because they're not going to let him go anywhere because he's only 23 years old right now. And I'll throw his stats up on the screen. He's only 23 years old. He's had some pretty good seasons. He had 24 points in his rookie season in 75 games, 35 last year in 2018-19, and he's had 23 this season in 71 games. And those aren't the most explosive numbers. They're not just popping off the screen like you, but you got to remember he's only 23 years old. And the Blues really think they have something with him. He's playing a top 4 role. 23 years old doing that for a Stanley Cup winning team. That says something. He can do it offensively. He's pretty good defensively. And the Blues really think they have some, and so do I. So let's say he gets $2 million. I think that's probably around what he'll get. I think he'll try to get like a 4 or 5 year contract. So when he's 27, 28, if he improves, he can get paid a lot more and sign a longer term deal. But anyway, for the situation, we'll say $2 million. So you add that $2 million to the 78.5 they're already at. That puts you at $80.5 million, with the cap being 81.5. So in the scenario that I'm bringing up, where Vince Dunn gets $2 million, they have $1 million to sign Alex Pietrangelo, who's probably going to get at least 9. Let's just use 9 for this situation. He's going to try to get 9. Now, there's a few things I think the Blues can do to free up this cap space. I think it's going to be really hard. They're going to lose some pieces. Maybe not the biggest pieces, but they're definitely going to lose some pieces trying to keep Pietrangelo. But it's the things you got to do to try to keep a player like Pietrangelo, an elite cornerstone defender who has proven he can step up and proven that he can captain a team to a Stanley Cup victory. So the first player that I think that the Blues should try to move in order to keep Pietrangelo is Jake Allen. And you'll get a mixed response from Blues fans of what they would think about this hypothetically, because I feel like just from what I've seen on Twitter, half of fans of St. Louis absolutely hate Jake Allen and he can do nothing right. He never does anything for the team. And the other half will die on the hill that Jake Allen should be the starter. And it's just that way it is. Maybe not as much starter ever since Bennington came to the picture. I think that crowd has gotten a little bit smaller. But the thing about Jake Allen right now is that he's been one of the best goalies in the entire league. And yes, I said it, Jake Allen, at the end of the season, cut short, yes, has been one of the best goalies in the entire league, and the stats back it up. I'm going to throw him on the screen right now. And as you can see right here, his stats are pretty good. Sitting at a .927 save percent. For goalies that have played at least 20 games, I'm not going to count goalies that have played like 1 or 2 or even like 10 or 11 games. For goalies that have played at least 20 games, that's good for fourth in the entire league, behind Darcy Kemper, Tuukka Rask, and Anton Khudobin. Now we look at goals against average. He's sitting at a 2.15. Using that same measurement of goalies that have played 20 games at least in the league, that's good for second in the entire league, behind only Tuukka Rask by .03. And when you look at his cap hit, it's at a $4.35 million cap hit. And he signed this contract back in the summer of 2016. This was after the Blues went on that run to the Western Conference Finals, where they lost to the Sharks, I think 5 or 6. And Brian Elliott played, I think he played most of those games for them in that playoff run, but they moved on from him. Jake Allen did contribute. And they said, Jake Allen is our man. He's going to be the one that starts the games for us. As you can see, he was coming off of a .920 save percent season. Goals against average was 2.35. He followed it up with a .915 save percent season, 2.42 on the goals against average. And then in 2017 and 18 and 18-19, those numbers dropped significantly. .906 on the save percentage, 2.75 goals against in 17-18, and in 18-19, .905 save percent and a .283 goals against. Drastically different from when he signed the contract. And in those 3 years, especially 17-18 and 18-19, it seemed like Jake Allen would start off pretty good, and then he would hit a slump, and it would just keep going for months and months. And the Blues actually missed the playoffs in 2017-2018. And when you look at how they missed the playoffs by 1 point, you can just look back and say, yep, that should have been a win. That should have been a win. That should have been a win. The goalie just didn't perform. Maybe he gave up a late goal. It cost him a point. Maybe he gave up a goal that should have gone to overtime, and they lost it in the third. That's 1 point. That would have got them in the playoffs. But they didn't make it. So enter 2018-2019 season. The Blues start off horribly. We all know the narrative that it was worst to first. Anyway, they get to January. Enter Jordan Binnington. Saves their season entirely. Massive piece in the reason why they won the Stanley Cup. And he gets rewarded with a 2-year contract. $4.4 million per year on the cap hit. And now he's the Blues guy because obviously he's shown he can do it. You're not going to make a guy who started for you and won 16 games in the playoffs and won a Stanley Cup, the first rookie to ever win 16 games in the Stanley Cup. You're not going to let that guy become your backup. So he's obviously the guy. So right now they have almost $9 million invested into their goalies. But you can get a backup for a lot cheaper than Jake Allen. I don't think he'd put up the numbers that he's had this season because his numbers this season have honestly been insane. I don't think he should be up for the Vezina or anything. I think a starting goalie should get the Vezina. I don't think these backups that play less games and have less of a workload should be up for the Vezina or anything. But I think he's a really good backup, and I think he would benefit from a change of scenery. His time in St. Louis has been really hard. He's taken a lot of heat from the fans, and rightfully so. With these slumps, I think it's just a mental game with him because when he's on, he's absolutely on. I remember in 2017 when the Blues played the Wild, he completely stole that series. One of the games he had like 54 saves and maybe only 1 goal against. He was absolutely insane. And that is just a piece. I think some teams can look back and see that and say he can perform in the playoffs. Maybe he's our guy. Maybe a team that needs a goalie like San Jose or maybe a Hurricanes in Carolina. Maybe they're a team that could look at Jake Allen and say, maybe a change of scenery will be good for him and maybe he could help us with some playoff success. Or maybe a team that's right on the cusp or thinks they're on the cusp could go for him and say, we need a new goalie. The one we have working out right now. Look at San Jose. Martin Jones is not the most liked person in San Jose. He gives up some weak goals. Last year in the playoffs, he was not the reason they got it to the Western Conference Finals against these Blues. I'm not going to say it was the refs. Yes, the refs played a part of it. But they still had a really good team. But it was not because of him. It's because they could score a lot of goals. So maybe a team like that, maybe not exactly San Jose, it might be hard to move that Martin Jones contract, but maybe a team like that could be going after Jake Allen because right now, there's never been a better time for the Blues to try to trade Jake Allen. So if he does get traded, that's another $4 million off the books. So they're up to about 5.5 to work with, 5.5 to work with to get Pietrangelo. That's a much better place than they were in before with just that $1 million in this hypothetical situation. So up next, I'm going to be talking about another player that I think they should move, and this is the one I think they should really look into moving, and he holds some value still, and that's Alex Steen. Steen's contract has a $5.75 million cap hit, and this runs to the 2021 season. And the Blues need to get this contract off the books. If they can get that extra $5.75 million contract off the books, as well as the Jake Allen contract, That's more than enough to sign Pietrangelo. I don't think Steen ever really deserved this contract. He's obviously a good player. He's massive when it comes to the leadership in that locker room. He is a fourth liner these days. I think his best days are obviously behind him. But there's a reason Coach Berube started the fourth line almost every single game in the playoffs because they know how to set the tone and they were scoring early. It was kind of insane to see. The fourth line would go out early and get these early goals and put the Blues ahead in these games. And that was a reason they had success is because they could get ahead in games and they know how to hold the lead. And Steen was a massive part of that. And yes, I'm aware that he has a no trade clause. He might waive it. Who knows? If the Ottawa Senators offer him some money, maybe, and say they'll sign him after his year's up, maybe he'll take it. I don't think they do. This is just a hypothetical situation, of course. So I don't think that they would be able to move this contract. But we have one other person's contract who I think might be a little bit easier to move. But those are the sacrifices you got to make. You want to keep a Stanley Cup winning captain who led you, who scored in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. You have to make these sacrifices. But say the Blues can't move Steen. Say no one wants to take the contract. Ottawa doesn't fall for it, doesn't take it. They want more than a first. They want a prospect or something like that, and it doesn't work out. I think the Blues should consider moving Tyler Bozak. And his cap hit is $5 million. And this run also runs to the 2021 season, just like Steen contract, just like Jake Allen's contract. They all end in the 2021 season. That's what makes this possible and what makes the most sense to me, at least. And again, I'd love to hear your comments down below who you think should stay, who you think they should move, how big of an idiot I am. I want to hear all of it. And the reason I list Bozak last and I listed Steen ahead of Bozak is because I think Bozak would probably be the biggest loss of the three players I've mentioned. His numbers, like points wise, aren't the best, but he's huge on the penalty kill. He's a big reason why they shut down that perfection line in Boston in this Cup final. And you got to remember the Blues went against the Jets. He shut that line down, the power play of that team. The Stars, who admittedly struggle to score, and they seems like they are so good defensively, and their goalie's always so good, but they struggle to score. And then the Sharks, who obviously can score. They got Couture, who honestly, if he would have made it to the Stanley Cup, even if they would have lost, he probably would have won the Conn Smythe. He was going absolutely insane last year in the playoffs. So these are players that Bozak is going against and helping shut down these really good players. I think he's a really good two-way forward. He's not the best offensive. I think he's more of a defensive asset. But the thing with moving on from him is that it gets Robert Thomas time in his natural position. He's been playing wing the last, 2 years that he's been on the team. And I think the kid's going to be a stud. So you're going to want to get him time in his natural position at center. And losing Bozak and that $5 million cap hit gets Robert Thomas that time and likely gets you to sign a Pietrangelo again. But I do have to mention that he does have a no trade clause, but it's a modified no trade clause. He would submit a 10-team no trade list, but that still leaves 20 other teams he could be traded to. And there's some teams out there that are looking for that second line, that third line center. Maybe he moves up to the second line role. I probably wouldn't do it personally, but getting a third line center is huge because it just gives you that center depth that's pivotal in winning a Stanley Cup. So, like I've mentioned before, it is 100% worth it to get rid of two of these three players that I've listed: Jake Allen, Alexander Steen, or Tyler Bozak. I would probably do Jake Allen and then one of the forwards. That's probably the best way to do it, but it's going to be hard. I mean, I think there's a possibility that Pietrangelo could maybe go for a bridge deal, 1 or 2 years. Promise him you're going to pay him in the future when some of these other contracts in 1 or 2 years are up. Who knows if he'll take it? I think he might take it, but who knows? Since at the time of this recording, we're still at that break period, obviously not much is going to be in the news. You're not going to see much on Twitter about it, like officially rumors or anything like that. I mean, there's going to be rumors. Everyone in Toronto wants him to come there because that's his hometown, but you already got a bunch of $10 million players on your team. I don't think you can afford them, honestly. But anyway, you're not going to hear much. I've heard things like he's going to be open to options. He's not going to vow to sign in St. Louis. But I've also heard that he loves the city of St. Louis and that there's mutual interest in the team and with him to get something done. If his main goal is money, he can get that somewhere. Someone's going to offer him $10 million, and he'll take it if that's his main goal. If his main goal is to try to win another cup, I think he's probably going to try to stay in St. Louis. He obviously knows the team, knows the city. That group can win another cup. They obviously just showed they can win a cup. It's a good destination for him, but it might be pretty cool to see him play somewhere else. You know, it's always fun to see these massive names that make so much money move to other teams. I thought it was great when Tavares moved to Toronto. I thought it was great when Carlson went to San Jose, when Bobrovsky went to Florida, even though that's not working out the best. A couple years ago when Shea Weber went to Montreal. Just trades like that. I love stuff like that. I love seeing players move to different teams, seeing what it's like in a different surrounding, all that. I think it would be great for the sport. But I think it'd be great for the sport as well to keep him in St. Louis. I really don't have an opinion. I think what it'll be interesting. I kind of hope he does explore because I love seeing the offers teams made or make, excuse me. And I think it'll just be a really interesting offseason when it comes to Alex Pietrangelo and him finding a new contract. So, Blues fans, if you made it through all this, I do hope you keep him for your sake, but I wouldn't count on it. I still think there's a shot that he doesn't stay in St. Louis, but I wouldn't lose hope or anything like that because, like I've said before, it's possible. I mean, Doug Armstrong has worked some magic before. We all saw what happened with the Ryan O'Reilly trade, how he just destroyed Buffalo in that trade. He can move these contracts. It's definitely possible. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. This took a little longer than I thought it would. I had a lot to say about it. I did a lot of research into this, looking at the contracts and the stats and all that. I think since this is now my second video, that's going to be over 15 minutes. I'm probably going to try to shorten up my videos in the future. But anyway, if you've made it through the whole video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you could please, please, please hit the subscribe button. It would mean so much. I'm at a pretty low number right now, and I'm trying to grow this channel. I'm trying to bring you guys hockey content as much as I can. Videos like this, videos like my first one. It's going to be a lot of fun getting this channel going, and I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe. And really, I would love for you to comment. That's the main thing I want. I want to hear your guys' opinion on what I have to say. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.